For over a year now, the fashion industry has been speculating about the launch of a new magazine from the NetaPorter group, simply called Porter. The business of fashion has the first look inside the magazine today, exclusively. Why does an online e-commerce player need a physical magazine? Is NetaPorter a media company or an e-commerce business? Today, we'll learn about this ambitious launch from the three women who have played a key role in shaping it. Hello, ladies.
Hello, Imran.
Hello.
Thank you for sitting down with me today. This has been a long time coming.
Since 1999.
Since 1999.
We've been working on it for the last year, but the idea for it was always in the original business plan.
So my first question is really, how did you keep it a secret? I mean, the industry has been buzzing about this, and I'm sure these offices have been buzzing about this. What was your strategy for keeping it all under wraps and launching it today, basically?
Well, obviously, I live by the maxim that you only get one chance to make a good first impression. And we knew that whatever we were going to put out, we would immediately get feedback and reactions from it. And we didn't want anybody else's thinking to cloud how we were going to do it or what we were actually going to deliver, apart from our consumers.
I think what I'd like to do first is kind of just go back to the idea. I mean, you say it's been a long time coming, it's been since 1999, but you know, the vision of NetaPorter, at least in a lot of our minds, the minds of the public, has been that it's a digital pioneer. So I guess, my first question, and I think the question on a lot of people's minds is, why launch a publishing division with a print magazine in a place that's been known for digital innovation? Why launch that magazine?
Well, I think we were known for digital innovation because that's where we started, but really we have been focusing on content and commerce since day one in the fashion space, and the media that we first played with, or that was the biggest opportunity in 2000, was digital. And we've talked about how the NetaPorter group is actually not just a retail company, but it's a media company. And if we're a serious media company, we couldn't ignore one of the most important existing media, which is print. It's an enormous part of the business landscape, but more importantly, it's an enormous part of our consumers' life habits. Our consumers, me, Lucy, Tess, everyone, we all read fashion magazines. We read print. It's a part of our life. And so we wouldn't be a multimedia company without looking at print. But we didn't want to just translate NetaPorter into a print magazine. We have the edit for that, which is the digital magazine of NetaPorter. We said, if we're going to do a print magazine, let's make a great print magazine. And then the wizardry of the NetaPorter group comes behind the scenes in shopability, personal service, customer care, globalness, and the fact that you've got this business with 2,500 people in it who can get their heads behind what it means to create a modern magazine.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question, because the skeptic, would say it's a really crowded marketplace for magazines. I mean, all of you have worked in this industry for decades, right? You come with a wealth of experience. And if you talk to the publishers out there, the editors out there, that the industry's in a phase of transition. And it's a crowded marketplace for magazines.
But we're part of that because we reach 6 million women monthly on NetaPorter. What we're not doing right now is we're not offering them their fashion fix in print when she's in print. You wanted to say something?
I was also just going to say that I think the interesting thing for me coming to NetaPorter is the incredible dialogue that NetaPorter has with this fashion audience. And I think that everything we've done from the way we set about this project was really to go to the women and ask them what they wanted. And they still have a passion for print. They still have a passion for that authoritative curation of everything that's out there, of fashion in context, travel, beauty. And I think this gives us an opportunity to you know, take that dialogue to the next level. There's something very intimate and kind of beautiful about that print experience. You're having a conversation with them, not just about, you know, the clothes they're going to wear, how those clothes are going to make them feel, but where they might be traveling. It's really putting that kind of whole fashion experience in the context of their life.
It's not disposable. I mean, we, you know, at the same time that we've created a print magazine, which is going to be on a very literal level, it's on the newsstand for 8 weeks, as opposed to for that month. It is something that is not disposable. On the flip side, we're working on social media, in Instagram, in creating live, fleeting moments of content. Both have their place, but this is something that is so much more personal and will last and will hopefully be on shelves and coffee tables for a long time.
And we also felt that there was an opportunity to do something different, and you talked about it being a crowded market, which of course it is, but when we actually talked to our global women, and I mean really global, what came through was that they were craving for something global. And so interestingly, they were buying print magazines, fashion magazines, often 3, 5 a month. But what they said to us is, we're buying them from different parts of the world. We are global, we're traveling 11 times a year, that's what we're looking for. Can you do that? Can you provide that for us? And so we thought, actually, that's what Porter should be. It should be the first global edit in English. A bit like The Economist is, you know, it's in English, one edition goes around the world. That's what we realized at NetaPorter we had the opportunity to do that was really exciting.
Our customers don't have a geographical split. She's a citizen of the world.
Which is how our brands are. You know, all the brands we work with are global. And they, in my conversations with them, have said, actually, yes, we're very interested in that global woman who travels in and out, you know, gets on a plane in London, gets off in New York, and is traveling all the time. And so that's the type of woman we're aiming for with this magazine.
So let's shift to this differentiation, because, you know, the global angle, I think, you know, that's one element of what makes this this project, big ambitious project, different. The next thing, of course, to think about is the actual content, right? And so one of the things that surprised me as I had a sneak peek through the magazine today is I think everyone expects shoppability from NetaPorter. And when I mean shoppability, I mean explicit, you know, pushing of product. And surprisingly, as I was going through the magazine, you know, it wasn't explicitly shoppable. It was more a subtle thing. There aren't a lot of pages filled with products to buy. There's not a lot of pushing and selling. It seems like a more understated approach. Lucy, can you tell me a little bit about the content strategy? You came from a traditional magazine background. How did you approach this project differently?
In answer to the first part of the question, I think that for me, and maybe it answers the whole question generally anyway, is that I think for me, when we approached this project, we were really going back to the woman. And that's something this company does brilliantly. It listens to her, it's always kind of, there's a real service element. And I think when you're in this environment for a long time, you start picking that up. I learned something about, we were in a meeting and they were talking about different heel heights and the way people, you know, they'd only bought into this because it was this 180 because you could go to a business meeting in it, and this one you couldn't do this in. And I thought, my God, I've worked in magazines for so long and I've never ever mentioned how high, you know, whether it's either a flat or it's a kitten heel, but we've never talked about the actual, how many centimeters a heel is in height. And I think that what's exciting is that we've really gone back and I felt that what we've done with this magazine is we've fallen in love with the woman again, and we've really talked to her about fashion and the way that she wants to consume fashion. And I know you say it doesn't feel very shoppable, but what it's filled with is lots of very powerful messages about the pieces that she needs, the pieces that are going to make her feel amazing. We don't need to do that with lots of pages filled with cutouts. If we say, in an amazing spread with one of the great sort of supermodels of the day, the 24-hour jacket is your piece that you go to this season, we can say that with 4 jackets. It looks amazing. It's a really strong message. We're being very artful with the way we're writing the copy, trying to be helpful, witty, and useful. But because we have this wonderful digital experience lying behind it in the digital edition, if you love that messaging, I don't mind whether this woman logs onto Net-a-Porter and or clicks straight through to Net-a-Porter, buys it, goes to the brand, looks at jackets. I don't mind if she's walking in the high street and sees an incredible jacket and goes, oh my gosh, that's the 24-hour jacket. I need one of those. The whole premise of this magazine is looking after her, and that's really the way we've approached all our content of like, what does this woman need? There are so many messages about fashion coming at her. There's so many different, often very conflicting trends. And what we've tried to do is curate them into a kind of a way. It's a little bit like I used to go to the fashion shows and come back and everyone would divide up the trends, and then they would come into the office like 6 months later and they would all be wearing there would be 6 or 7 pieces. They'd all come back and suddenly they were wearing a parka, and I was like, where was that on the page? And we want to try and get down to those pieces that women really feel will empower them.
So can you just walk me through, give me a couple of examples from the magazine that speak to this difference that you're talking about. What is, open up a couple of the spreads and just talk to us about how you would have done it in the old media setting and how you're doing it in this new approach.
Well, I think the first thing is I don't think I've ever done a cover line saying about how fashion makes you feel, and we've gone with this cover line, fashion to make you feel phenomenal, because I think that's the calls we used to get at the office. I'm going to a friend's wedding, I'm going to see my ex-boyfriend with his new girlfriend for the first time. I need a dress that's just going to knock everyone dead, including him. And we've kind of come at it with that sort of attitude. And I had a conversation with Stefano Gabbana just shortly after I'd started here, and he was talking about storytelling in clothes and how, how the way clothes make you feel is something I think magazines don't like hit on, they don't touch on perhaps as much as they should. But in terms of the way we start the book, our first, our front of book fashion pages. This page here is the opener to the fashion memo, which is our front of book fashion section. But this kind of messaging is what you'd probably find at the beginning of a traditional magazine's fashion world, maybe like 100 or 150 pages in. And we really felt that if you're buying this fashion magazine and you want to know what to wear for spring, let's deliver it immediately. And I think, the front of book pages are often filled with lots of catwalk images, lots of sort of, working out what are the trends of the season. Are you gothic? Are you this? Are you modern couture? All these kind of elements. And we just thought, no, let's get you dressed. I think when we looked at it, we actually looked back. We took a lot of inspiration from the magazines from the 50s and the 60s. And they really were telling you how to get dressed beautifully. So we go into the aforementioned 24-hour jacket. It's on Hilary Roeder, who's one of the real kind of Amazonian powerful models of now. Fantastic.
By the way, that makes you want to look like her, and it is much more powerful than a cutout of a jacket, which again, netaporter.com can do. But if we're going to give somebody something beautiful that they're going to clutch and carry around with them, give them a beautiful picture, invest in it, invest in the page. There's a lot of investment on every page.
I think also to see double-page spreads of editorial so early in the book is quite unusual as well.
And what about the Giselle story, Lucy, which you and I peeked at earlier? I mean,
would you like to see?
Yeah. Full version.
Would you like to see her again?
Yeah. So I mean, tell me about how this story came together, because Giselle is usually portrayed as this kind of, and she is, an Amazonian beauty, but this has a much more natural, unretouched approach.
Can I say, just because this is watching what Lucy has delivered with the team on this has been amazing. But I think what we were talking about the other day, we were saying that in the day and age where via Instagram you can see Giselle beautiful at home, and some of the pictures that are being broadcast about all the women that we love, that we aspire to be, that we want to find out more about. We're seeing glimpses into their life in an unprecedented, intimate access. And those photographs are actually more beautiful in their reality than they are in their artificiality. And I think that in this day and age, you can't just put somebody against a studio and push-up bra and like shiny teeth and retouching. You have to show some of that reality. And I mean, I'm so proud of what these guys have done.
Thank you. I mean, I have to say who I feel very indebted to are Ines and Vanud, who we work with on this shoot. And they've been involved in this project from the very, very beginning, as we were sort of dreaming up this woman that, you know, I call Porter. I know it's the name of a magazine, but I see her as this modern Katharine Hepburn type, this kind of strong, intelligent, great, sort of daring woman of the world. And we had a lot of conversations before we approached this cover, you know, approached Giselle as a subject about how we wanted to portray the Porter woman. And they were very insistent that, you know, we talked about it, and we wanted to find a new visual identity for them, for us, you know, for them working for Porter. And we love this sense. We approach this very much as a series of portraits of Giselle. They have a very close relationship with her. They know Giselle off duty. They wanted to bring some of the off duty Giselle, the more intimate vision to her. And yet we, you know, we do have this rather wonderful gatefold cover, which I think is quite special. But there's something almost painterly about this. There's something very intimate. I love it for a first issue because there's a little bit of like, hi, come and get to know me. There's something very intimate. There's something very vulnerable in it. And I think in Giselle, who, as you say, we often see as this kind of glamazon with the big blowout hairdryer, you know, the big blowout hairdo. I think it's wonderful to see this kind of, you know, you can imagine this is how she wakes up in the morning, and it's very alluring, and that's very much the way we approached the whole shoot. We shot her in the home of the New York artist Bryce Marden in upstate New York, and it's a very, very intimate series of portraits, and I don't think she's looked more beautiful. They purposely kept the makeup really minimal. As I say, the retouching.
You can see her freckles.
You can see her freckles, you can see her pores, you know, we probably played around with the
And
color
she
a little bit
actually
more.
looks like that.
That's what Lucy said, yeah. That's kind of incredible. What about opinion? You know, I think fashion media has increasingly been portrayed, I think accurately, as a place where opinion has been removed, because people are afraid to say, well, this was my favorite, for fear of offending everyone else. How did you approach opinion?
Well, in the fashion memo, we have, you know, we've been opinionated about the pieces we love, the pieces that we think make the season. We've also come up with a new franchise called Collections to Covet. So we've taken, you know, our favorite collection from the city that really speaks to the theme of the issue. You know, this is strength and sensuality. We love the Proenza women. We love the Gucci women. I think sometimes, you know, again, when you come back from the shows, it's often those conversations you have in the cars where you're like, oh, wasn't this show fantastic this season? Never makes it to the page of the magazine. I want those conversations that we have where we are expressing an opinion. I want those to translate onto the page so that woman knows, actually, I haven't been and seen this designer for a couple of seasons, but wow, apparently it's really hot again this season. So I do think that opinion is really important. And, you know, we have our private view section is just a series of opinions from fantastic people on the arts world. So we've definitely put a really nice, strong point of view into the magazine, and I agree. I think people want a point of view. You know, we haven't given them every single piece, every single trend. We've really curated it down to the ones that we think are really important. So we're not being afraid to say this is the hot color or this is the shoe shape of the season. We're not afraid to have a point of view, and I hope that's a little bit different and fresh as well.
You know, Natalie's vision from the beginning, we had a talk in this same space a couple of years, 3 years ago now. You know, as she described it to me and our audience, it was, you know, the idea of content meeting commerce. So naturally, from a content perspective, I really understand the approach. From a business perspective, it makes me wonder, you know, what's the underlying business model here? Is it an advertising play? Is it a commerce play? Is it both? And in particular, how do you see this physical print manifestation of the Net-a-Porter world translating to e-commerce?
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of buzz going around about omni-channel for retailers, and I would say that this is an omni-media play, and it makes absolute sense for the Net-a-Porter group, and in particularly for our women's shopping brand, which is netaporter.com, in that first and foremost it establishes our authority, a trust with the woman who we have the ability to see the entire world of fashion. And for the brands that we carry on NetaPorter.com, we can get those to you same day, London, New York, Hong Kong. And we'll do whatever we can to help through a concierge service to get anything else that you're looking for, and we'll help you shop the look. It's that trust with the consumer, that we know what we're talking about. We have access to the best of the best. We're in there at all of the fashion shows. And the fact that we have distribution deals with some brands and not others, and obviously the list of brands that we don't have distribution deals with is much smaller today than it's ever been. That's a business issue, but from the consumer issue, it was imperative to us that we educate this consumer and that she trusts us, that we create the inspiration. We also are partners to the world's best fashion brands in the world, and we are extending that partnership into a realm which is enormously important to them, which is to reaching their consumers in global markets, inspiring them, driving them into the brand's own stores. What better way than to partner with them than to create something which a vehicle which they trust in the language that many of them really understand, than to offer them this print vehicle.
Do you think for those holdout brands that this might be the way you could draw them into the group in terms of actually distributing and selling those brands?
I think that yes, I do, because it shows, you know, very, very early on when I had to go around and convince brands to let us work with them digitally and in e-commerce. I said, we are going to take care of your brand. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to nurture it. This is not you know, a machine. This is not the e-commerce, you know, cheap and cheerful industries that were booming in 1999. This is going to be something that celebrates you. And we illustrated that. And I think this is the final way of showing to the world, to the industry, to the consumer, that we celebrate fashion. We love it. We're very serious about it. It's got a very special place in our heart. And in a way, we are partnering with many brands that we don't carry currently, and they now have access to our consumers via this, to the NetaPorter brand. And I think it is inevitable that this will lead one way or another to us playing with them. But that's not why we did it. We just thought, right, you know, actually we're having more dialogues with different people because of this.
Well, as you look through, and as I look through the magazine, I mean, there's Dior on the back, there's Chanel in this opening. How did the brands respond when you went out to them? I mean, having worked in the industry for years, you know, you have great experience in, you know, in the publishing world. What were the questions that they asked you? How did they respond, and how did you convince them to come on board?
I think they were very, I've been overwhelmed by the reaction from the advertising industry, actually, and they were, from the moment we started talking to them, really intrigued, and there was a great admiration for NetaPorter, and I think they were intrigued by this new publishing model that we had set up, and they were very interested in the audience. I mean, as Natalie said, the actual group NetaPorter speaks to over 8 million people every month, and also the people at high net worth are very engaged in fashion, so they were very interested in that audience. And I think what we've delivered in Porter is something that talks to that audience that's very global. And the other thing they were interested in is all the things we were doing differently. So from a publishing point of view, we talked to them about having this opportunity to press the reset button of publishing, because being here kind of liberates you from doing things in a different way. And that's what I love so much about this company, is it's always about being the best and exceeding expectations and adding innovation. So we listened to the woman and we talked about it, and we said, actually, I think we should publish 6 times a year, not 12, because we know women haven't fallen out of love with print, but perhaps they're not buying them so often. Let's talk to her from a seasonal point of view. And actually the brands responded really well to that. The other thing we decided is to get the advertising, talk to the advertisers that were in the sort of top end premium sector. So we haven't, you can see as you look through, it's very much the advertising in context with the editorial proposition. So it's pretty much high end. There's no mass beauty in there, there's no high street. The other thing I felt very strongly about as a publisher is that, I mean, readers love ads, but they actually, I think in recent years, have found it difficult to get to the editorial pages. You know, everyone gets frustrated. When's the first page of editorial coming? So we kind of flipped the model with Porter. So you'll find in here there's 185 pages of editorial, so 65% of it is editorial and the rest is ad, which is the opposite of what's going on today. So again, it's having that liberation to put the woman at the heart of everything we do. And that pricked up the ears of the big brands we spoke to, and they thought that was very intriguing.
The fact it was going to be on newsstand simultaneously in 60 countries. Many of the brands who advertise here have flagship stores in every single one of those cities. To know that one partner can help reach that specific audience for them, I'm sure was compelling. No?
It was really compelling, and the news trade that we spoke to were very intrigued globally, because this was a magazine coming from a company like NetaPorter with all that insight and knowledge and experience of the woman. So when we were building our distribution plan, we were able to use that, and they found that incredible because they felt that it could, well, they've responded brilliantly. So I think in the US and the UK, which are our two largest markets, in the US, for example, we've got from launch, we'll be in 10,000 stockists in the US, which is phenomenal. 6,000 in the UK, and across all the channels, so independents, travel, retail, grocery, basically wherever that global woman is who loves fashion and is buying magazines. And so the scale, but the targeted nature was also very, very powerful.
One of the things that I was hearing in the market was that the ads were expensive. And, you know, people were like, Porter is trying to compete with American Vogue in terms of pricing.
It definitely wasn't that. I mean,
it definitely.
No, it definitely. We definitely weren't competing with American Vogue. We've kind of what we feel we've done with Porter is talk to brands about a global buy. Right. And it's very much, if you were to sort of take the nuts and bolts of it, a very good value print buy for what you're getting globally. And we've talked to brands about a global print buy that actually also includes the digital edition, plus a live link to their e-commerce. Plus, if you layer on top of that, all the e-commerce to their own websites via the editorial. So in terms of the brands that we've got in here, they feel it's very good value considering what they get.
One additional piece of value they're getting is that you're not only driving traffic from the digital edition back to NetaPorter.com, it could be to Valentino.com or Gucci.com or Dior.com.
Chanel.
And also for the travel pages, it's going to the it's going to the hotel, it's going to the Four Seasons, it's going to we're doing with every transaction, every decision we make, we're just thinking about the easiest route for her to get hold of that shoe, buy that book, book that travel trip. We're really putting her first. Yeah, it's
we'll have
service.
Our customer care teams and personal shoppers who speak 25 languages, who 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, on call for anyone who needs help to source a product that they can't find. I mean, it's at every level, it's a fantastic service. Yeah. It's a service to the consumer, it's a service to the brands.
I think the other interesting thing, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that apart from being on the newsstand and it's available to buy at NetaPorter, so we can deliver it to 170 countries, we also felt that it was really important, and of course the advertisers also found this bit very interesting. We felt that the top customers of NetaPorter, the EIPs, should have a complimentary annual subscription. So from launch, all our EIPs will get a copy
of
Porter.
By the way, is a very appealing demographic for advertisers.
Just a little bit.
So that seems like a no-brainer to me. This is issue 1. Let's fast forward a year and think about where you'd like this magazine to be positioned a year from now. You're a person of visualization. So Natalie uses visualization. She thinks about things I've had this discussion with her before. What are you visualizing a year from now?
Well, I think first of all, I think we're talking in such hushed tones about it. It's a great magazine. It's in the end, what Lucy and her team have produced is great content, right? So I'm hoping that this becomes a must-read and a must-clutch for women who love fashion. I'm betting, right? I'm thinking that maybe it'll take 6 months, maybe it'll take 12 months, but we're going to get the call and people are going to be saying, oh my God, I love Porter magazine. You know what? Oh my God, they just launched a website called NetaPorter and it's like the e-commerce companion to Porter. I think I think it already feels like something that's existed for a while, and I think success will certainly be when people don't know which came first, Porter or NetaPorter. If I could rewrite history and I had millions and 2,500 people in positive cash flow to my belt in 1999, I would have started with a print magazine. I would have had the shopping companion. I would have had an entire mobile team to be able to do it. We couldn't have done it with the conviction, the investment, which is not to be sneezed at, the expertise, recruited the teams with passion to get them behind this project, even the understanding from the fashion industry. It would have never happened then. So we're doing today what I wish we could have done in 2000 when NetaPorter went live. And because NetaPorter has never been built as a build it, go public in 6 months and explode in a puff of smoke. We're creating a business that is going to hopefully outlive us all and will be a big part of women's relationship with fashion. And yeah, I think in a year's time it will be blurred and people will think actually it did come first. And as an ex-editor, and Lucy and I worked together at Tatler magazine years ago, even though when we were 10. And I think we both came at it from different parts. I wanted to create this global magazine that could be shoppable, and you wanted to create an amazing global magazine that was relevant to an audience and served her. And it was an amazing meeting of minds, and it just so happened we had the facility with which we could do it, and access to the brands and the trust of the brands. And
what about profitability, which is something we haven't talked about yet? Well, so have you...
Can I just tell you how much more easier it is to derive a profit? This is inventory-free shop. One of the beautiful things about publishing, it's a high-margin business.
So this will be profitable very quickly?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh no, we haven't ignored the business logic behind it. I want the publishing division run by Tess should be a profitable entity in of itself. And the fact that it's a fantastic partner and beacon that speaks to the authority and relevance of NetaPorter is fantastic, but it has to and I guess do what it's meant to do on the tin.
In terms of the profitability in the business, what makes it so exciting being here is from my previous life in Hearst and Condé Nast, it was very regional. So I worked for the UK arm of Condé Nast. This is a global business. So what makes us profitable quite quickly is the fact that we are global, pulling together all those countries in one P&L, which is incredible, and across platforms as well, because how I've set up everything from scratch here is to make sure the teams are multi-platform from scratch. It's the beauty of being able to start something and being a startup.
With the benefit of previous experience. Yeah. Last question.
Yeah.
So the NetaPorter group now has the e-commerce website, NetaPorter, it has the Outnet, it has Mr. Porter, it has a print publication, it has the Edit, a weekly digital magazine. Is this the media company of the future that you had back in your head back in 1999? Is this what you were envisioning?
It's better, it's bigger. In '99, it was entirely a woman's business, and I think I have a throwaway line in the business plan, sort of page 42, about, oh, and we might do men's. The fact that we've really gone into the women's and the men's side of things is more than I thought we would achieve, and I think it's, but what we're doing, yeah, is what was originally envisioned. And there's more in that original business plan that we yet to be tackled. But I can tell you that when we do the next thing in our omni media or maybe omni-channel, we will take our time and we will make sure that whatever it is that we launch is embraces the best of what that media or retail output is, and then we flip it, we innovate it, we make it better for the 21st century. So we took women's retail with Net-a-Porter and we put it on its head. We took the best of service and then we played to digital, and we created new rules, broke some old ones. When we launched the Outnet, we took the discount shopping, which was everywhere, and we created new rules. We said it's not flash, it's always, it's edited, it's not just give us your old stock, we're going to make the best fashion outlet. When we did men's, we didn't just do a tab on women's, we said let's focus on what men like and then let's use digital to reinvent, to create the best mousetrap for men. Now we're doing it with print, and I think it's about time and patience. Took us a long time to do this. As you know, we delayed the original launch of it to get it right. And then thankfully it all comes down to having experts in each of the departments. We're blessed to have the best team in the world behind this, who had the similar vision and who jumped from the traditional world, brought with them the expertise, the knowledge, the contact base, the passion, and then plugged in this whole, let's rethink it. Let's take it to the next level. Let's make it relevant for the 21st century.
Okay, well, I look forward to sitting down in a year and taking stock, because I think this is, it's a project that has intrigued many of your peers and colleagues out in the industry. I've certainly been engaged in many conversations about it over dinner in the back of cars during Fashion Week and every other minute that people have to chat. So it's here, everybody. Porter Magazine. Congratulations. And
on the newsstands on the 7th of February.
Exactly. All right, we'll see you in a year.
Thanks, Imran.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.